thousand webs, chaos and confusion, panic and dread, despair and delusion. Are there no answers? Have we no plans? Can't we find a better way? Yes, we can. There is hope in the garden, peace for all who enter in. There is hope in the garden. Let the healing begin.
My first experience with Alzheimer's was actually with my grandmother, my dad's mother, who had Alzheimer's about the time when I was 13 or 14. And back then we just explained it as being old age. And then her daughter, my dad's sister, had Alzheimer's. And so we had seen this progress before it even reached my father.
Living with somebody with Alzheimer's and watching them go through the decline is just a really lousy thing. Watching my dad was very hard, especially early when he was aware of the loss and he was aware of what happened to his sister and to his mother. And as a doctor, he'd seen many patients go through this, so the anticipation was very hard. His frustration was very high, and it was challenging to know the best way to interact with him.
My mama had been in a series of different living arrangements, and it was becoming real clear, as it does with all of us who go through this with loved ones with dementia and Alzheimer's, that a normal, a regular living place is not appropriate.
My mother's a 93 and is a little forgetful every now and then. In fact, very forgetful sometimes, but fortunately is cheerful and happy and radiant, and that's what matters.
When Dad first had symptoms, we thought he'd had a stroke because it was exhibited by patterns of speech. He would forget words, which we all do on occasion, but he was forgetting words that were very basic and having trouble communicating. We ruled out stroke, and finally he was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and that took us down a path for almost 12 years that we knew what was coming because we'd seen it with his mother and with his sister, and Dad knew as a physician what he'd seen in his patients, what we were in store for.
Typically, people don't live more than 6 years once they're diagnosed. So, for him, it was a longer period of time, and that was the most frustrating.
I had the amazing experience of growing up in Nashville. At one point in my life, there were 5 generations of my family alive, and my great-grandmother was well into her 90s when she passed away. Lots of great aunts and great uncles, and I don't recall anyone having dementia until my mom and my dad were diagnosed. Now, it seems like almost everyone I talk to, their parents are struggling with dementia.
The individuals who are affected, both family members and patients, are terrified, are stressed.
It's better to do 2 things. One, say that almost everybody knows somebody with a dementia, and that's how prevalent it is. But the real key is that dementia is an illness that lasts a long time, a lot longer than heart disease, cancer. People live a long time in a state of pretty low life quality. So it's a national disease because it's so recognizable, because people live so long with it.
Alzheimer's is one of the great problems that we face as a nation. Our entire generation is probably going to have this disease in one form or another. We don't quite know how to deal with it yet, but Abe's Garden and Mike Schmerling's efforts in particular are a great and promising start to help us deal with this national dilemma.
First, I think we should talk dementia instead of just Alzheimer's disease, because Alzheimer's disease is one big part of dementia crisis, but there's many more, and as people get older, they get all kinds of dementias, and as I said, they live a long time. So the key question is, what do you do for them? I mean, how do you care for somebody who's just not going to live 6 months? I mean, how do you care for somebody who lives for years? and give them some dignity and some life quality, and we don't know the answer to that. So hopefully Abe's Garden will be a demonstration site that will start the process of getting those kind of answers.
Abe's Garden is going to be a new center of excellence in Alzheimer's and memory care. It's going to be combined with the input from a major medical university with Vanderbilt. There's nothing like that happening anywhere right now. It is the answer. When we say there's hope in the garden, there's hope, and this is the source of hope. It gives people a way to contribute. It gives people a way to find support for themselves, for their families, and we're very excited to see Abe's Garden get off the ground.
One of the unique aspects of Abe's Garden and the work that we plan to do with them as part of our center is that they are not only interested in providing the best possible care for those who come to Abe's Garden, but they're genuinely committed to extending and improving care quality for all older adults with dementia throughout the nation. In that sense, they really are interested in serving as an innovative care model, a state-of-the-art center that in fact other people from around the nation can come to see what best care practices look like, and even serve as a training site and educational center so that they can more broadly disseminate the lessons learned, so to speak, from their efforts to improve care practice.
One of the reasons why facilities like Mayo Clinic and the Cleveland Clinic have reputations that people have heard of and follow, because they're publishing papers, they're doing research, they're winning grants, and that research establishes practices of care that become a standard across all lines. That's our goal, and that's our goal with Vanderbilt, so that if somebody in Montana wants to build a facility and they go, we need to go see this facility called Abe's Garden in Nashville, Tennessee, so that the practices and things they've discovered and the benchmarks, we can not have to recreate the wheel.
The fortunate side is that our family really did pull together, and we kind of recognized each of us had something different to offer my dad and my mom, and so I think that's, you find your way. And you hope that you give your dad and your loved one the best moments you can.
Over time, he migrated as his disease worsened to go to different places. And we got to learn a lot about the places, the staff, the program, the facilities. And I realized there was no benchmarks for the care ranged from, good to poor. And there were no rules or policies or procedures in most of the places. So I became a student of the process of identifying facilities and what made a good facility better, and just started to learn and realized that what was happening in Nashville was not much different than what was happening in other places in the country, which is unlike other diseases that had great models that someone could replicate. This disease did not have one, and as a result decided that wouldn't it be a great idea if somebody would take on the challenge of creating a model in Nashville, Tennessee. The name Abe's Garden, obviously the Abe came from Dad. That was his first name, Abram and Abe. And he had hobbies of gardening. He grew tomatoes, he grew cucumbers, and loved flowers, loved taking pictures of flowers. And a garden is a place of change, a place where life's change is natural through a garden. You see things born, they grow, they die, and that type of garden just seemed like the perfect word to match what he loved in life and what he loved to spend his time doing, and that's how the name came up.
My mother was the first person on the waiting list before there was actually a waiting list. I read about Abe's Garden and tracked you guys down and said, my mama needs this place.
Our intention is not just to develop things that one facility or one site can use, but to develop things that can be disseminated. And if the goal was just to improve care for those few people who could live at Abe's Garden, it wouldn't be as an ambitious or an interesting enterprise as it is now, which is to try to improve care for a large number of people receiving dementia care throughout the nation.
I think it's great that the Schmerling family has given us an opportunity to have a local effort of national prominence so that whatever solutions we find can help start here in Nashville, Tennessee, and then spread nationwide and worldwide, because this is a very human problem. Sooner or later, it's going to affect everybody, and I'm proud that we're part of the solution here at home.
From the programmatic perspective and what's going to be available to the Alzheimer's residents as well as to the families and their support, the evidence-based design, the relationship with Vanderbilt and having discovery and innovation in a facility that's very compassionate and caring for people, and also looking for the next innovation to treat and care for patients with Alzheimer's and families.
What makes Abe's Garden special? I mean, there's not one thing. I mean, there's a whole set of things. There's a whole industry of taking care of people with dementia over long periods of time is growing hugely. And not that many places have the wherewithal or the ability to support innovative work, because innovative work, by definition, it's innovative, has not been tested that much, it might not work, it's expensive. So not that many places have the motivation or fortitude to test things, test them honestly, and to keep trying things until they get things work. What's more, if they do get something that works, people immediately want to make it proprietary. They don't want to share it. I mean, those things are different about Abe's Garden. We're going to develop things, we're going to test it honestly, we're going to say when it doesn't work, and then we're going to share it, if it does.
Well, Meharry has many opportunities to work with different organizations that are interested in research, particularly Abe's Garden. Obviously, one of the ways we have a strong basic science research group in neurosciences that are poised to understand the basic biology around Alzheimer's disease. Obviously, our clinicians and our community engaged research team look to understand what are the best situations to provide care for Alzheimer's patients in the community, as well as opportunities to test new drugs and new therapies that come on the market. Those are the things that I think from a research standpoint, Meharry is poised to do. These are some of the things we're already doing, and we look to partner with Abe's Garden to make sure that Abe's Garden is a premier facility, not for just the care of Alzheimer's patients, but also is on the cutting edge of research in this field.
One of the most interesting things that I observed in trying to learn about this disease was that even though Alzheimer's disease is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States, it was 8 when we started, now it's 6 that's moved up to. Some have just moved almost away, like AIDS, is the concentration of research that takes place between major medical institutions and facilities that are built. And these partnerships are very unique for other diseases. If you think about Mayo Clinic, if you think about MD Anderson, Meningers, Joslin Diabetes, these are major partnerships, and that's important because the research is credible research, interns and residents potentially going through the facilities, and these partnerships create benchmarks.
Abe's Garden is going to have a unique staff training model which was developed by the Vanderbilt Center for Quality Aging. We're going to have short, weekly in-services. These in-services will use videotapes, and that topic will be practiced throughout the week and observed by the nurses, giving feedback to the staff to see that they're doing it right. We feel that this is a much more effective training model.
The real issue is to combine training with management and have it on an ongoing basis so that it never really stops. This is how the best training programs in business and industry are done anyway. I mean, it's not like you have a 30-minute in-service, you're done for the month, go away, come back the next month, which is the traditional practice, in this field.
One of the ways that I believe Abe's Garden will be engaging families that's different from how other facilities engage families is that they will really be focused on keeping families informed of their relatives' care needs, not only when they first come into Abe's Garden, but also as those needs progress and in fact are likely to decline over time.
Abe's Garden is going to be very sensitive not only to the residents, but to the families and how they can participate and be supportive of the residents there.
We're not trying to keep residents busy at Abe's Garden. We want them to engage in meaningful activities, things that are important to them. For example, they should have the opportunity, if they want to make the snack every day. If a resident wants to walk a dog or feed the dog at a scheduled time, we're going to give them that opportunity also. There'll be lots of pets at Abe's Garden, and I think that's really important. There's also going to be a comprehensive art and music therapy program. Our residents should be engaged throughout the day. Also, we're going to have activities that are appropriate even at the end stage of Alzheimer's.
The best thing about Abe's Garden is going to be the community that benefits. The same kind of community that happens on the burn floor at a children's hospital. Because you happen to be sitting there going, I know what you're going through. And you start sharing information, and we don't have that.
The Memorial Foundation is very pleased to be a partner with Abe's Garden in providing services for Alzheimer's. We believe that there's hope there and that families will benefit and the quality of care will be excellent.
When I thought about what I might be able to do for Abe's Garden, I thought, they need a song. And I've had other people in fundraising situations who have told me, Karen, your voice opens people's hearts and their pocketbooks. So I thought, aha, this is a way that I could really serve being a volunteer. If I could write a song that tells what the situation is like and perhaps get inside people's hearts and, frankly, their pocketbooks in a big way. Because Abe's Garden is just going to be a fantastic model for other places in the country to follow, and it deserves having some big bucks coming its way.
There are many ways for the public to become involved in Alzheimer's disease, and whether it's family members who have members of their family with the condition, or whether they're just interested in making the world a better place, donating time, contributing money, contributing expertise on all facets of Alzheimer's disease care. That could include research, that could include volunteering time to spend with individuals who have Alzheimer's disease, interacting with facilities, interacting with caregivers, physicians, nurses, caregivers in facilities with Alzheimer's residents. There are a host of ways that people can become involved, and I would certainly encourage anyone who's interested in advancing the care of individuals with Alzheimer's disease to become involved.
My family is all involved with Abe's Garden now because of our love for our dad and in memory of my mom. I know one thing, people that struggle with Alzheimer's cannot accomplish this by themselves. They need our help. I love the potential of everything that Abe's Garden could be.
And I think it's exciting for people to get involved in something that's going to be an example for the nation on how residential treatment should be provided for people with Alzheimer's, the support that families get. I think it's very exciting, and it will bring people to Nashville. It's going to bring people to Abe's Garden. And certainly for the residents and for the families, it's going to be monumental.
One message I would have for anyone with Alzheimer's disease is to maintain hope.
Years in the future, when we look back and learn what we've done and how it's benefited others, I think the goal will be to say, how has this really benefited a larger population than just the facility of Abe's Garden. And that is really the goal, to create a center of excellence and a model that others replicate. The things we've come up with have been adopted and have benefited people with this disease regardless of where geography put them and where they lived and where they got their care. That's our goal.
Life is complicated. It throws us curveballs sometimes, and we got to be able to still hit that pitch. So let's get in the game. Let's make sure we win this game, and together we can do this.
It's a really important place, doing important work. And besides that, it's a lot of loving, dear, fun people. So come, we need you.
There is hope in the garden, peace for all who enter in. There is hope in the garden. Let the healing begin.
Abe's Garden, transforming the care of individuals with Alzheimer's disease and dementia.